All right, class. Now let's look at a few more ideas about writing on the web and also review some information about your writing projects. Now, for your writing project, you are turning in an original article about a current topic in your major or field of study. This article should include at least 2 outside resources. If you are unclear about what constitutes a valid outside resource, review chapter 2. We're looking for peer-reviewed studies, anything with a primary or secondary source. So if you're quoting from a news article, make sure it's about an interview they conducted, not something that where a news source is quoting someone who's quoting a source. So first or second level interviews or information. You want to have at least one relevant interview by a field expert. So this person should be someone who can add to the information you are finding with your outside sources. You want to include how they relate to the topic. So are they a working professional? Are you doing a story about small privately owned businesses? Then you would include the business that they run, or what their relationship is. If, let's say, you're discussing marketing for social media, then say they're a social media manager for blah blah blah. Or you want to if you want to include information from one of your instructors, then say why they're qualified to offer information on this topic by including their titles, any books they may have published, or if their area of expertise is social media, then you want to mention it if it relates to your article. Now, you can also include additional interviews. It doesn't just have to be this one field expert. If you feel like your article would benefit from having person on the street interviews, then include those. It's okay to add more. My primary thing is for you to at least include this minimal amount of information. If you want to include more, please include more. Now, whenever you are looking at the information from your interview, I want to see at least one direct quote from them. You can paraphrase some of their information, but we're looking for a direct quote with relevant information, something you can offer to your audience to help them understand your topic and why it's important and why they need to care about it. Now, whenever you're choosing what information to paraphrase, that would be yes or no answers. If they have any statistics, anything that it's still important information, but not necessarily something that is the best kind of information to read. And again, a great example, whenever you're looking for direct quotes, look for something moving. Think about some great movie scripts, or when you've watched documentaries. I mean, they have a million documentaries out now and mini docs and everything else. If you're having trouble thinking of what constitutes a good quote, watch some of those. They have some really great direct quotes in them, and kind of reading something aloud, or whenever you are making a recording of your interview and you listen to it again, see what speaks to you. And again, this is just the article. You do not have to turn in a recording. I do recommend having one, but it is not necessary for this particular project. So we included 2 outside sources. They're relevant and offer factual information. 1 relevant interview by an expert, so an instructor or working professional. We're looking at possibly including additional information from other outside sources or from other interviews to help support our information. So those outside sources, if they're written sources or videos or audio, then they need to go in your American Psychological Association, so APA formatted references. So those sources need to go in there. The only thing you do not need to include is your interview. So whenever you are conducting an interview of someone, you do not have to include that in your references. You are including that information in your article. Not in a reference format. It's going to be in the same format we saw in the examples where someone says a person's name and includes their title and other information in the article. Now, your references are on a separate page from the article. Again, use a page break to separate it. And here is a link to the reference examples. The best way to figure out whether or not you are writing your references correctly is to look up the examples. Find the example, figure out what each piece of information is in it. It literally tells you on the same page where the examples are, what each piece of information is in the example. So take your sources, find that information, and essentially plug it into the same locations and same formatting as in the example. Now for your article, I'm saying about 4 to 6 short paragraphs. If you need more space in order to write a better article, use it. I'm not going to be upset if you include more information and it helps your article. It helps you clarify everything and allows you to include those natural subheadings that occur in web articles. The biggest thing I'm looking for here is quality content. So something relevant, fully developed ideas. We're looking at an article. You want someone to be able to come in without any prior knowledge of this or with minimal knowledge and understand what it is you're saying. So you're developing all of the ideas the best way you can in one article. I understand with certain topics, it may not be possible to develop every single aspect of it. Remember, keep your focus in mind. So that's why we need to look at a small topic, current event, frame of reference, because if you start looking at too big of a picture, you're going to end up with an idea for an entire newspaper online. So keep it focused, but also develop the ideas within that focus. Now you do have the option for a bonus item, so a tweet. You can include it between the final paragraph and references. Again, look at the examples. This will be an additional 10 points to your project. So make sure you're following the Twitter posting rules and suggestions. If it is more than 280 characters, or if it doesn't really make sense in relation to your article or has serious typos or something, you will not get the full 10 points. You need to follow basically Twitter grammar and also write something that makes sense and will engage your audience. Now, when you're posting on Twitter, there are 3 main areas where the Twitter analytics page focuses: impressions, engagements, and engagement rate. Now, impressions are defined as the number of times users saw the tweet on Twitter. Engagements are the total number of times users interacted with the tweet. Hashtags, so if they click on your hashtag, username, link, your avatar, if they start reading your tweet and they expand it to read it a little more or look at pictures or do something, that's engagement. Now, your engagement rate is the number of engagements, so the number of times they clicked on the hashtags, etc., divided by the total number of impressions. So here, let's take a look at an example with my Twitter page. So I honestly don't use it that much. That's why it looks so sad on here. So Twitter offers tweet analytics and activity for its users. You're able to see how many organic impressions you have, how many times something was retweeted, and any kind of engagement you have with people as well. So whenever they're talking about organic impressions, they're talking about unpromoted stuff. So in this time period, we had 2 top tweets, and underneath each thing, you can see each little heading, you can see the impressions, engagement, etc. Tweets and replies. So any tweets and replies made by this account. And of course, you have promoted items here. If you were working with a business, you would want to try different types of promotions, see what kind of engagement rate you're getting. Because not only do we want impressions, we want people to actively engage with your online persona. And of course, they offer these cute little graphs where you can see engagement rate, link clicks, retweets, and any replies, likes, etc., related to what you did on their platform. Now, Twitter and other social media organizations recommend using relevant images, GIFs, video clips. All of those will improve your position in the Twitter algorithm. You want to keep your message specific, so make sure you're looking at something short and simple. You want to think about how your audience is generally, they're usually just kind of scrolling through their home feeds or other places. So you want something very engaging and brief, so they're able to understand your message very quickly and either react or engage in some other way. So you're asking for clear calls to action, comment, follow, like, click. If you can't, whenever you do this, of course, you want to make sure your links are opening in a new browser. Now, for retweets, you're looking at retweeting if, for example, you are involved in an Etsy store and someone offers positive feedback about how much they love their new necklace or something, and they posted a picture of it. You would want to retweet that and tell them thank you, etc. Recognize that they are interacting with your brand. Helpful, retweet any helpful articles related to your industry. And of course, whether it's positive or negative, you want to respond as quickly as possible. You get improved ratings whenever you offer quick responses, whether it's through direct messaging or in the open platform of Twitter. And of course, whenever you are deciding on hashtags or what types of information to post, review current events and trends. Relevant, timely hashtags are important. And of course, tweet important company information. So even if your company isn't necessarily, if they're doing something big, then you want to mention any new partnerships, or if you hire someone new, that's the type of information people want to know. And also, if you're, let's say you make homemade candies or something and you do pumpkin spice candies, well, now's the season. It's October. Everyone has their pumpkin spice stuff out and they're doing all kinds of things. So that would be an example of a seasonal promotion. Also, of course, if you're a retailer and you have some kind of semi-annual sale or something, you might want to include some scheduled tweets leading into it. And then, of course, tweet throughout your promotion to help move traffic to your website. Now, maintaining a schedule can also mean actually using the platform to schedule tweets to post. If you want to, let's say, get all of them done on Monday for the whole week, then you can go in and set them to launch at your optimal Twitter times, let's say between 8 and 11 a.m., for example. And you'll go in and schedule all of your morning tweets for the rest of the week. And that way you don't have to worry about it later. And of course, constantly review your analytics, see when you're getting the most engagement and what types of posts are getting the likes and retweets from your audience. Asking questions is a great way to engage your audience on, honestly, any social media platform. Including images or a poll will also help. So if you want to, let's say, poll readers about the ending of your mini series last night, then you might have a poll about who your favorite character was, or if you have an upcoming dramatic ending to something. If you're an entertainment writer, you might say, who do you think is going to get killed off on Walking Dead this week? That would be a poll example. Or you can retweet industry news if there were any big announcements, trailers released, or anything else related to your specific area. And of course, using inspirational messaging is always great, especially when someone takes the time instead of using the little memes or quotes or things randomly generated and spewed all over the internet. If you actually go in and rewrite it for your particular brand and audience, it can have a really big impact. So our first example here is from Degree Deodorant. They had this picture of this guy sitting outside somewhere using their little Degree body wipe things. And they said, start fresh this week. What goals are you setting to keep yourself moving? And so that, including this type of question, while it isn't the best for traditional news writing or writing news articles in general, even if you're doing web articles, this type of engagement can work on social media. And a lot of times people will go in and either retweet or include photos and reply to this type of brand engagement. And as for the inspirational messaging, some of the better accounts I've seen where they stay on brand tend to be for things most people would consider really silly, like Cookie Monster from Sesame Street. He actually has some pretty funny tweets in here. So in this post, Cookie Monster said, "Me no cry because Cookie finished, me smile because Cookie happened." He's staying on brand with his particular vernacular and also focus on cookies, obviously. And as you can see, it worked. They had almost 70,000 retweets and more than 7,100 quotes and 373,000 likes for this specific message. Now, there are a few different tools you can use on Twitter. You can bookmark tweets. You can follow certain hashtags. Also, you can curate your home timeline to a certain extent, about as much as Twitter will let you. And of course, Twitter now offers lists where you can organize accounts you follow into different subjects. So if you have local groups and national groups you follow, you can separate them and go straight to those lists and look at them. So let's go ahead and see where these lists are. So of course, this is your normal home page. And it has our little what's happening feed on the side here. And then of course, more recommendations to follow, some other stuff. And explore hashtags. So tends to be things that are trending, possibly stuff that you're following, or hashtags based on groups you follow already. And of course, you have notifications, messages, bookmarks. I bookmarked these particular tweets so I could go back and look at them later. And you can, of course, view threads for everything. And we have our lists. There are pin lists. So if these are your favorites and you want to access them quickly, you can put them up here. There are lists from different users. And of course, most of these recommendations are based on organizations you follow. And whenever you are in the list area, you can create a new list and you can see whose list you're on as well. So we have all of these. Apparently, I'm on some of these lists for these different people, or for these profiles anyway. And of course, there are more areas here. You can look up topics, moments, newsletters, analytics. So a bunch of different shortcuts we can use here. And these are all things I'm either following or not interested in. So a lot of tools. They're constantly updating, reviewing everything on Twitter and every other social media organization. Again, here's a picture of the pinned list. So, and where to find new lists and any lists you belong to. You're looking for this little icon right here. This is a bookmark, messaging, etc. Now, for your homework this week, you are continuing your Chapter 6 project. Review my notes on both the paper I returned to you and also your written copies. I included suggested edits and some recommendations for you to follow. I didn't deduct as many points as I will in the future for the references if they were not created correctly, or for grammatical errors or spelling or punctuation or any of those things. The biggest area is if you're missing any core ideas in your paper. So make sure you have all of your information there first, then double, triple check all of your writing to make sure that that you're spelling everything correctly, that you didn't start writing a sentence and just kind of leave it. And so it turns into this random blob in the middle of your page. Read things out loud. Please, please use all of the tools available to you. That includes having friends proofread. Use the spell check to review your information, but don't use it as your only tool. You want to use it as one of many that it's one of many tools that you'll have for proofreading. Again, that's due October 10th. And your Chapter 6 quiz is also due October 10th, which is Sunday. You have a fall holiday coming up. You do not need to log in to Attendance Friday. I removed the attendance login since it is a holiday. You don't have to do it. You do need to log in on Wednesday. So make sure you do that. And everything should be okay. If you have any more questions, email me, set up Zoom meetings. If you're still really unclear about what's going on, you can come to class Wednesday and ask me questions face to face as well. Just make sure that you're following directions. Use the information I gave you from your interviewing project, from these videos and in-person lectures to help you understand and prepare a well-organized paper for Sunday.